Damien Voss was a man who thrived on control. Every number in his corporate empire bent to his will. Every deal he made unfolded exactly as he intended. His emotions were locked away like classified files, never to be touched again, especially after Eva. It had been 6 months since their divorce. 6 months since she'd walked out of their penthouse with a suitcase and a final look that said "Don't follow me." He hadn't. Until now. It happened on a rainy Thursday in downtown Crestmont. Damien was stepping out of his black town car, preparing to meet an investor, when he saw her. She was across the street under the awning of a small cafe, wearing a pale blue coat, the same color she'd worn on their first trip to Paris. But that memory was obliterated by what she held in her arms. A baby. The child was swaddled in a soft blanket, its tiny hands curling in the cool air. Eva looked down, smiling in a way Damien had never seen before, soft, tender, utterly at peace. The sight hit him like a sucker punch. 6 months ago, she'd left. No mention of pregnancy, no hint of this. The math screamed questions at him. Was the baby his? Before he could take a step, a man emerged from the cafe, tall, dark-haired, wearing a casual jacket, and placed an arm around Eva's shoulders. She didn't flinch. She didn't move away. She let him guide her back inside, as though Damien had never existed. He stood in the rain, motionless, the sound of traffic muffled by the rush of blood in his ears. By the time he returned to his car, the decision was already made. "Sir?" the driver asked. Damien's voice was iron. "I want every detail about that child. Who the father is, when it was born, everything. The investigation." Damien didn't trust coincidence. He called Clark Wren, his private investigator, before the rain had even dried from his coat. Clark was ex-military, methodical, and expensive, exactly the kind of man who got results without leaving traces. "I'll need a week," Clark said when Damien briefed him. "You have 3 days," Damien replied, then ended the call. But 3 days was too long for patience. That first night, he found himself parked outside Eva's apartment building, a glass and steel tower in the Crestmont district. Lights flickered on in her unit. A shadow passed the window, hers. Then another, broader, taller. The man from the cafe. Damien's grip tightened on the steering wheel. The first clues. On the 3rd day, Clark called. "The baby's name is Lucas. Born 4 months ago. No father listed on the birth certificate," Clark said. Damien's stomach tightened. Eva's living with a man named Andrew Hale. Finance consultant. No marriage record. They met about 5 months ago. 5 months ago. That was 1 month after the divorce. It didn't rule him out. The baby could still be his, especially if the dates didn't quite line up. "You think Hale's the father?" Damien asked. "Could be, but without DNA, we can't be sure. You'd need to get close to Eva. Close enough to get something from the baby." Damien was silent for a moment. "I'll handle it. The gala. The opportunity came sooner than expected. A week later, Eva attended the Crestmont Children's Fund Gala, an event Damien had once chaired. His name still carried weight, so slipping onto the guest list was effortless. He spotted her almost immediately. The pale blue gown she wore seemed deliberately chosen to echo that day at the cafe. Or maybe that was just his mind playing tricks. When she turned and saw him, her smile froze. "Damien," she said when he approached. "Eva." His voice was quiet, almost conversational. "We need to talk." Her champagne glass trembled slightly in her hand. "We don't." He stepped closer. "Whose child is it?" "That's none of your business anymore." "It is if he's mine." Her eyes flickered, panic, or something close to it, before she turned away. "You've moved on. So have I." He caught her wrist, not roughly, but with enough pressure to keep her there. "If you think I'll walk away without answers, you don't know me." Eva's gaze was cool, but there was something beneath it. "You don't want to know the truth," she said softly. "Try me." She studied him for a long moment before pulling free. "If you find out, you'll never forgive me." Then she walked away. The breakthrough. 2 days later, Damien's phone buzzed. "Clark again. Got something. Hale's out of town this week. Eva's been home with the baby. I can get you inside." Damien didn't ask how. That evening, while Eva was occupied in another room, Damien slipped in. Clark had arranged for a babysitter to be called away on a false errand. The apartment was warm, quiet, filled with the faint scent of baby powder. Lucas lay in a crib, staring up at him with wide, curious eyes. The moment Damien saw them, his breath caught. They were his eyes. The same steel-gray shade. The same slight tilt. For a moment, all the air left the room. He reached down, brushing a finger against the baby's tiny hand. Lucas's grip was surprisingly strong. And then he heard her. "What are you doing here?" Eva stood in the doorway, her voice low but trembling. Damien straightened. "Why didn't you tell me?" She stepped closer, her face pale. "Because I knew what you'd do." "What I'd do?" He took a step forward. "Eva, this is my son. You kept him from me." Her eyes shone with something more complicated than fear. "You think this is about you?" He stared at her. "Then explain. The truth." Eva exhaled slowly, as though deciding whether to end the charade. "When I found out I was pregnant," she said, "I wanted to tell you. I tried, but the night I was going to, I saw you in your office. You were shredding documents, yelling at your lawyers. You were preparing to crush a company because its CEO had crossed you. And I thought, what kind of father would that man be?" Damien's jaw tightened. "You decided for me, I decided for him." She glanced toward Lucas. "I wanted him to have a life untouched by your world, the deals, the threats, the enemies. You have people who would hurt you, Damien. And they wouldn't think twice about using him." He searched her face, looking for a crack in the story. "So you lied. You let me believe you'd moved on." "I had to." Her voice broke slightly. "Andrew's not his father. He's just safe. He's been helping me protect Lucas." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Rain tapped against the window, a steady rhythm between heartbeats. Finally, Damien moved closer, lowering his voice. "You had no right to take him from me. And you have no right," she shot back, "to drag him into your world because of your pride." The silence that followed was thick, but Damien's mind was already moving. He would not lose his son. The decision. When he left that night, Damien didn't slam the door. He didn't threaten her. He simply looked at Lucas one last time and walked away. But the war had already begun. The next morning, his legal team had their orders. Custody petitions, paternity tests, protective measures. He would fight for his son, not out of vengeance, but because now that he knew Lucas existed, there was no universe in which he would let go. Eva had been wrong about one thing. Damien Voss was not just a CEO. He was a man who, once he decided something was his, would stop at nothing to claim it. That evening, while Eva was occupied in another room, Damien stepped inside the apartment. Clark had arranged for the babysitter to be called away on a fabricated emergency. Lucas lay in his crib, wide-eyed, gurgling softly. The moment Damien saw the child's eyes, he froze. Steel gray, the same shade as his own. He stepped closer, brushing a finger against the baby's tiny hand. Lucas's grip closed around it with surprising strength. A warmth he hadn't expected spread through his chest, fierce, protective. "Damien," he turned. Eva stood in the doorway, pale and tense. "What are you doing here? Why didn't you tell me?" Her expression tightened. "Because I knew what you'd do." "What I'd do?" He took a step forward. "Eva, this is my son. You kept him from me." Her voice shook. "You think this is about you? It's about him. The reason." She crossed the room, her gaze flicking to the crib. "When I found out I was pregnant, I was going to tell you. But then, that week, I saw you in your office. You were shouting at your lawyers, planning to destroy a company because its CEO had crossed you. And I thought, what kind of life would our child have in your world? Surrounded by enemies, deals, threats. You decided for me," he said flatly. "I decided for him." Her voice cracked. "I wanted him safe. You have people who would hurt you, Damien, and they wouldn't think twice about using him." His hands curled into fists. "So you let me believe another man was the father. I let you believe what was safest. And Heir, a friend, someone who can be here without drawing attention. He's been protecting us. The choice." Damien stood there for a long moment, staring at her. "You had no right to take him from me. And you have no right to drag him into your world because of your pride." The rain pattered against the window. Lucas let out a small coo, oblivious to the storm between them. Finally, Damien's voice softened, but it carried the weight of a decision already made. "I'm not walking away, not now, not ever. He's mine. You'll put him in danger. I'll protect him. You can't protect him from everything. I can protect him from being raised without his father." Eva's jaw trembled, but she said nothing. Damien stepped closer to the crib, looking down at his son again. In that instant, The boardrooms and contracts meant nothing. Every instinct in him sharpened toward one goal, keeping this child safe, and keeping him his. The aftermath. When Damien left that night, there were no threats. No slammed doors. Just a quiet, final look at Eva, one that told her he would not yield. The next morning, his legal team received his orders: establish paternity, file for custody, and ensure every possible safeguard was in place. Damien Voss had built an empire by never backing down from what was his. Now, his empire had a new cornerstone, a 4-month-old boy with steel-gray eyes. And nothing, not even the woman who once had his heart, was going to keep them apart.